Welcome to episode 2 of the Faith Driven Women Who Launch series. We are diving into how to overcome fear, trust God's direction, and take bold steps into your calling. So if God told you to do something and you're scared to move, listen up, because fear does not mean that you're not called. In fact, it usually means that you are called because the truth is most God-sized assignments feel too big, they feel too risky, and they feel way too uncertain. And so today we're going to talk about how to overcome fear and step into what God has already called you to do, right? Even when you don't feel ready. Emphasis on that last part, all right? So let's normalize something right now. Feeling afraid does not mean you're out of alignment. Feeling afraid does not mean that you're out of alignment. In fact, some of the most powerful people in the Bible were afraid. Esther was afraid. Gideon was afraid. Ruth, she stepped into the unknown, right? So if you're sitting here thinking, God, I don't know if I can do this, you're in very good company, all right? Esther had to go before the king, uninvited. And back in the day, that could have cost her her life, right? But she said, if I perish, I perish. I love those words. Those are that's one of my favorite verses right there. And that is exactly what it looks like sometimes, stepping out into the unknown, not certainty, but obedience despite the risk. Okay. You're going to have to take that risk. Ruth didn't have to go with Naomi. She chose to leave her home, her people, everything familiar, to walk into a future that she didn't understand, right? And that's what so many of you are facing right now. God is calling you, but it requires you to leave what's uncomfortable. And then we've got Gideon. Gideon is one of my favorite people, okay? Gideon and I, we definitely have a lot in common, because Gideon literally asked God for confirmation multiple times. I do that too. God, is this really you? Give me a sign. How many of us have prayed that same prayer? God, I just need to know, am I on the right path? And yet God still used Gideon, not because he was fearless, but because Gideon was willing. And so let me bring this home for you. Okay. When I made the decision to move to Charlotte, I had never lived outside of Chicago. Charlotte was a brand new city. I didn't know anyone, completely different environment. It was uncomfortable and it was uncertain. But I knew God was telling me to go. And when God says go, you got to go. All right. Because if you don't, you risk staying in the same place while your purpose is waiting somewhere else. And I can honestly say, if I didn't move, I would have missed out on so many opportunities, growth, and connections that I didn't even know were possible. So I want to stress to you the mindset shift that you are going to need to have, okay? You are not meant to just receive blessings. You are meant to be a conduit. So God pours into you so it can flow through you. But when people operate in fear, they stop the flow. They hold back the gift, they delay the calling, and they keep the blessing to themselves. And sometimes that's what blocks you from getting to the next level, okay? Because keep in mind, you are never going to feel 100% ready. And that is by design, because God never intended for you to rely on your own strength. In fact, remember, this famous saying, I know you know who said this, when I am weak, then I am strong. Why? Because that's when you depend on God. And so now the question becomes, how do you actually move forward when you're scared half to death, right? So one, take the first step, not the whole staircase. You don't need the full plan. What you need is obedience. Number 2, ask better questions in the valley. Instead of, why is this happening to me, and throwing yourself in awesome pity party. What you can ask yourself is, God, what are you trying to teach me? Number 3, I want you to get resourceful, not discouraged. Emphasis on resourceful, people, okay? When I started my podcast, I didn't know what I was doing. When I wrote my book, I didn't even have a publisher. But guess what? I learned, I researched, I figured it out, right? And now I'm able to teach other women how to do the exact same thing. And last but not least, please stop waiting for permission. You don't need it, okay? Someone is out there waiting on your voice, your story, your obedience, your business. But if you let fear win, they never receive what God placed inside of you. Faith is not just believing. Faith is moving. Faith is acting. Faith is saying, God, I don't have it all figured out, but I trust you. I trust you enough to take the next step. And so that's what this series is all about. It's about helping you move from fear to faith, confusion to clarity, calling to action. Because faith-driven women, they don't just sit on what God gave them. We build, we move, and we launch. And so if you've been feeling that nudge, again, there's that nudge again, right? That there's more inside of you, just know that you don't have to have it all figured out alone, all right? That's exactly why I created the Faith to Launch space, to help women like you take what God placed inside of you and actually walk it out. But for now, I want you to start with this. Take the next step, even if your voice shakes. If this message resonated with you, please be sure to like the video, share it with a friend, and sign up for our email community where you can continue to receive more faith-based content and encouragement. And remember, if you're everything to everyone, then you risk being no one. You never know who you will inspire. See you in the next video. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, God, I thought I'd be farther along than this? Maybe you're single, maybe you're rebuilding, maybe life hasn't gone the way you planned. Let me remind you of a truth most people won't say out loud. Your life does not start when a relationship begins, your purpose doesn't wait on a ring, and your calling doesn't need permission from anyone but God. And that's exactly why I wrote How to Live an Extraordinary Life with or Without Mr. Right. This isn't another book telling you to sit still and wait. It's a roadmap for becoming the woman God created you to be. In your joy, in your purpose, in your gifts, in your confidence. Inside, you're going to learn how to hear God's voice above the noise, build a life that excites you, break free from comparison and timelines, and walk boldly, knowing you are already whole. You are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are becoming. Grab your copy today and let's build the extraordinary life God designed for you. When clarity turns into action, execution matters. Starring You is a consulting firm for individuals and organizations ready to implement with clarity and intention. Through one-on-one consulting and strategic support, we help individuals and organizations refine their message, build brands, create content, and launch podcasts, books, and offers with structure and confidence. Starring You is not about rushing the process or copying trends. We focus on individualized strategy, clear direction, and intentional execution. To learn more or to book a strategy session, head on over to starringyou.com. And that's STARENGU.com. Head on over to starringyou.com.